What I needed was not a new weapon, but a new animal.
A new animal?
Exactly so.
You found one?
Yes. Here on my island, I hunt the most dangerous game.
Most dangerous game?
Most dangerous game? What could it be?
The game I am hunting is all of you.
We are going to hunt you cricket.
What happens if I get caught?
Ooh, don't get caught. Don't get caught. Well, there he goes.
Hunt men? You raving maniac.
Well, conventional wisdom says good fleeing will always beat good chasing. But the stats say put your money on the guy with the gun.
And the hunt begins.
Indeed. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to The Most Dangerous Podcast, a show about the many incarnations of the story, The Most Dangerous Game. I am Travis Fishburne.
I'm Alex Brunel.
I'm Dustin Meadows.
And this week we are covering the much revered 1982 Turkey Shoot, the Ozploitation film.
It kind of is revered.
Yeah.
This is like regarded as a classic of its genre, which is very cool. I loved this movie. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I was
fun.
very into this.
I like this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are some fun turns and surprises that I did not expect.
Yeah.
From it.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. Okay, so 1982 Ozploitation, which is this scene
I was
of
going to say,
late
explain
70s, late 70s, early 80s, like kind of renegade outsider Australian films. Mad Max movies were part of this whole thing. There's a lot of great. Philip Morrow was an Ozploitation director. I loved that, like, because some of the only other stuff in this genre that I'm that familiar with are Philip Morrow's two Howling movies, one of which is incredibly Australian, Werewolves, Howling 3, The Marsupials, the Eraserhead of werewolf movies. And I loved so much that there happens to be a werewolf in this movie for no apparent reason other than he is. We'll discuss him. So yeah, this is part of that scene, although this is kind of a bigger, more international production, which is interesting. The cast is from all over the place. There are a lot of Australian actors in it, but in the lead we have Steve Railsback, who Michael Craig, who played Thatcher, said that Railsback went method for this movie, which seems like an extreme commitment for 28 days of this. The shoot schedule was 28 days. And Olivia Hussey, well-known British actress who many remember from their high school viewings of Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet, the 1968 adaptation of Romeo and Juliet.
Which I've never seen that. And in high school, we saw Romeo plus Juliet, the Bosler movie. I don't know
another
why.
Australian.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, it's weird. But I know her mostly from Black Christmas.
That's right.
Which I think a lot of people do.
Right. Also great in Black Christmas. So like the cast is from all over. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Some of the stuff I was reading about the movie was originally a bigger budget thing, and then a huge chunk of the budget got taken away. The shoot schedule went from 44 days to 28 days. There was a helicopter chase that they couldn't film anymore because they couldn't afford the helicopter chase. But man, I liked so much that this movie is like it's really like half and half. The first 45 minutes is this whole setup thing, and then the whole second half of the movie is just the hunt, and it is brutal. This movie is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's also the first movie since the original that just kind of fully commits to the like the idea and that setup.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, we're doing that, but also a lot of other things.
Right. This is really the hunt. I mean, like, and when it becomes the hunt, it is just the hunt. The first 45 minutes is this whole. Well, let's actually. I didn't read the synopsis for this movie yet, which is deviants are held at a rehabilitation fortress until they're set into a deadly game of survival in the hopes of returning to world society. Basically, the backdrop of this movie is there is some kind of unspecified Holocaust, which is set up in the very intense opening credits sequence of this movie.
Yeah, that seems to be taken from a lot of real world events.
Yeah, a lot of stock footage.
Yes.
Of, wartime and looting and human misery. Just a real harsh way to start this movie. It sets the right tone.
It does. Because immediately Sarah was like, oh no, does this have like a lot of Nazis in it? And while not by, name,
right?
It seems to be that way.
Totally. And another thing that I mean, in the exploitation movies I've seen that seems to be a common thread is a lack of a sense of humor. This movie doesn't really have a sense of humor.
Yeah, no jokes.
Some of it is funny because it's campy or extreme and you laugh, but the movie's not going for the laugh.
No.
The movie is just dark. The UK video release of this movie was Blood Camp Thatcher.
I read that because of Charles Thatcher, the character. Yeah, because of Michael Craig, right?
Yeah,
and because it was because of Margaret Thatcher as well.
It was a reference to Margaret Thatcher. Yeah.
Also, what I read was there was an actual commandant at a camp named Charles Thatcher that this was based on.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Interesting. Other people probably know more about Turkey Shoot than we do.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I remember because my fiance was like, "Oh, like Margaret Thatcher?" I was like, "Probably." And then I looked it up. And I was like, "Oh no, this is based on a different Thatcher, an actual Charles Thatcher."
That's wild because that guy was a total sadist.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I love this unspecified Holocaust. That's one of my favorite dystopian tropes. Is it's just like after the fall of what society as we know it. Doesn't really matter why. But in this universe, everybody that's a social misfit, any kind of a social deviant, is hauled off into these concentration camps and forced to wear Devo suits, basically.
Yeah, which is, I mean, this is kind of a thing, a similar setup to like the Mad Max films as well.
Yeah,
like you don't really know like what happens there.
Yeah,
and it goes a little bit more extreme in every incarnation of those movies. Where
yes,
it's
it
like,
does.
oh,
yeah.
It's weird watching the first one when you're like, oh, there's some kind of a society.
Yeah, just the fringes of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's still a police force in this lawless land.
The last bastions. I stuff from the very beginning of the movie, like I love the cheesy gunshot sound effects over the title card when it says Turkey Shoot.
Yeah.
Like that very much. Like very much that like the whatever the state of this in this movie, the state like their design font is that like robot-y Space Invaders font that they've just committed to painting on trucks and buildings, which that typeface is not designed for. So I appreciate that. Steve Railsback,
because they killed all the graphic designers. They were the first to go.
That's probably true. Steve Railsback goes so hard in this movie. Does he ever not? I think I remember him from Firestarter, and I remember the performance being of a very similar pitch.
This is the only thing that I can think of that I've seen him in off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah, me as well.
You guys haven't seen Firestarter?
No,
not since I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean,
it's on the list, and it's being remade this year.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
And the poster for Firestarter, I just saw it this week, and I'm like, oh, they're recreating the poster as well.
I know. Yep. I saw it at the theater, and I was surprised because I kind of forgot that it was happening at all. And I'm completely wrong. He was not in Firestarter. I'm just
Oh.
wrong. But he is in Life Force, where he's also very intense.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
one
and
with
the stuntman.
the vampire aliens, yes?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right. And he was.
Oh yeah, he's in Barbed Wire.
He is in Barbed Wire, but he's Dwayne Barry in the X-Files too, where he's very intense.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys remember the character of Dwayne Barry, but he was an early season like 2-episode recurring guy. He was like very like was part of those like very creepy Monster of the Week guys in the early seasons.
Hmm.
So I guess that's what I'm remembering him from. So he's so over the top and he's not even really over the top. He's just like very passionate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean you do not remember him from The Hitcher 2? I've Been Waiting?
No,
where
should I
he
add it to
played
my
an
list?
uncredited police officer.
Oof. Woof.
Yeah, I was really surprised. Hussey was the only one that I could immediately recall having seen in other stuff. But I know a lot of these guys were like,
Oof.
Oh,
I think it was something like Australia that.
Yeah.
I kept expecting, was it Ritter that was like the bald dude, the second in command?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I kept like initially I thought that was Vernon Wells from Commando and Road Warrior because they have a very similar look,
They do.
both bald with the ridiculous mustache.
Mhm.
I love that guy. He
was fantastic.
His face was so expressive with
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Yeah, he was not in The Road Warrior, but he was in Mad Max as a Fifi.
Oh, he was Fifi.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
As was John Lay, who played Dodge in this movie. He was also in Mad Max.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. I loved Dodge. Dodge was
Yeah, he was
fun
great.
character.
I wanted more of him. I understand why he was the first to go. But man, what a guy. So we have this whole first part of the movie just like demonstrating how evil the state is. We have our heroes, which are these three people that came in together, which is Steve Railsback as Paul, Olivia Hussey as Chris, and I can't remember the woman's name, but the blonde lady.
Rita, I believe, was the character.
That sounds correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Rita, played by Linda Stoner. And then
It is hard to tell because her IMDb profile is literally it's it's a monitor from this movie. It looks like a computer screen where she's like it's terrible.
Oh wow, yeah, that's hard to discern. It is an image of a computer screen. And then the other people that kind of fall into their circle are Dodge, this red-haired Coke bottle glasses insano, and Griffin, is that the tall guy?
Yes.
The other tall rebel. Steve Railsback's character is like a known rebel. He's been arrested and taken to concentration camps 3 previous times where he's escaped every time. So he's supposed to be like a triumph of Thatcher. It's like
he's the Steve McQueen of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then on the opposition, we have Thatcher, the secretary of something who is like a state, he's part of this hunt. He's signing up to do the hunt. There's this guy named Tito, who I was calling Pointy the whole movie because his hair had this pointed hairstyle that actually was asymmetrical and very bothersome. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but that guy's hair was asymmetrical and it was very bothersome to me. And then there's a lady, Jennifer, I think is Jennifer.
Yep.
And who invented this insane paralysis gun, but chooses to hunt with her crossbow.
Yes.
Slows.
Right.
She's got all the bows that Hawkeye does.
Yes. Yes. And Pointy has his Wolfman. He just that's his weapon. Is he has a Wolfman.
His Wolfman Alf with a PH.
Yes.
Well, he's got the Wolfman, plus he's got the bulldozer thing that he loves to ride.
Yeah, like the quad with a shovel on the front.
Yeah, once the hunt begins, the vehicle situation is insane. Thatcher's is they're both bright red, so real easy to spot in the jungle.
Which Sarah said looked like the Wienermobile.
Kind of does look like the Wienermobile. so Thatcher's driving around in this Wienermobile-esque thing that seems to only be shaped the way it is for the sake of hauling around bodies after he's killed them.
Mm-hmm.
And Pointy and Wolfman have some kind. To me, it looked like it was a tractor.
Oh, it's like one of those like those off-road like golf cart things, essentially
Gator.
for like yeah, like a gator. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
right. And with the big scoop on the front.
Oh,
and
a mounted 60 caliber gun
yes.
on top.
Oh yeah.
And also there's a missile launcher hanging around in the cab somewhere of that thing.
Yes.
Because that comes out a couple times. Those vehicles are the silliest goddamn things. They're so good.
They are. Like that's not completely impractical if it's like, this is for hunting people.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, the first 45 minutes of the movie, there's some terrible shit that happens. There's one guy who tries to escape by holding onto the undercarriage of a truck, and he's dragged back and forced to play ball, wherein he has 2 big orbs of gasoline tied to him, and then he is then kicked around a field while the gasoline spills all over himself and the ground, and then he is lit on fire, which is called a touchdown.
Yep.
I love John Godden's IMDb profile. It's him leaning on one of those balls.
Oh my God, really? It is. Yeah, as he's about to die. He's been very badly beat up. And this all boils over into this hunt that's about to happen. You know, the 5 people are selected to hunt. Griffin is just in the hunt because they want to assassinate him. They just want to kill this guy. He's not even like a real, hunt for sport. They're just going to try to kill him as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And each hunter has their own assigned prey that they largely ignore. Mm-hmm. But oh yeah, wait, I forgot to mention Paul's amazing torture cage in the first part of the movie.
Oh yeah.
I had never seen a torture device like that in the movie. Where it was basically, it's at this cage where all you can do is stand with your arms over your head because there's a weight that's going to crush you, and it's tied to a rope. It's tied to a little table on the outside that's being weighted to take the weight off, or weight taken away off of that to like put more weight on you. And he's just standing there having to hold this block of concrete over his head for God knows how long. And knowing, assuming this method acting thing is correct, he probably just was.
That is insane, because standing with your arms over your head without a weight for any extended amount of time is almost impossible. Yeah. So I don't know what he was doing.
I'm very curious too. That looked awful. Also, where Griffin gets displayed after he's killed later.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guards. There's one of one of the main guards is named Red. He has a whip, and it's one thing I was unclear about by the end of the movie is if the guards actually have balls. Do they actually have balls?
I do not know.
Or were they cut off? We don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Big question.
So anyway, because they're trying to rape multiple people like the entire movie. So many people are trying to rape other people in this movie.
Yeah, this dude tries it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was especially rapey.
Very rapey.
Red was.
Very. He brought in these 5 guys. Oh right, one of the other things I read was there in the shower scene early on in the movie. That was a local nudist commune. Like a local nudist hippie commune that they just had come get in the showers. Really funny. It reminds me of like just get real fetish club people and put them in the movie in the Matrix. What else? We get the rules of the game about 35 minutes into the movie. That's when it's proposed. It's 35 minutes into the movie where they're dangled with the prize of you can resume your identity as a person of the state if you can survive from tomorrow morning until sunset. And they give them their ID cards. Yeah. Oh, Jennifer rides horseback. That was the vehicle thing. Vehicle scattered.
Yes.
She has a more dignified vehicle. And then once they go out on the hunt, it just kind of goes crazy for 45 minutes. Instead of languid scenes of expository dialogue, we have languid scenes of one man on the other end of a sniper rifle and just, being toyed with for like 6 minutes or something very long.
Yeah, that scene went on for a bit.
It was kind of interminable. A lot of great gags around here. What were some of your guys' favorite parts?
Oh, there was also Dodge getting his toe torn off and then eaten by the Wolfman.
Right, it's a little snack.
Yeah.
Yeah, they find Dodge immediately. It's like it wasn't even a challenge. They just drove to him.
Well, because when it happened, you're like, did they give them the proper allotted amount of time? It just seems like, hey, here we are.
Yeah. Then they took his glasses too.
Mm-hmm.
That was just mean.
Oh.
They took his Coke bottle glasses. He obviously couldn't see anything.
I was like, he's whatever passes for comic relief. Like, clearly he's going to die. Now you're going to take his glasses too? Jesus.
I loved the jungle setting of this. I loved being able to hang out in the jungle and a little bit on the beach for the entirety of the hunt.
There was a very wide array of different topographies going on.
Yeah.
That they kind of established everyone was in a different area.
Yeah. And that was really nice. Like every little bit of the hunt had a kind of different visual identity. And yeah, it kept everything kind of varied. And it didn't make all that, it didn't make it feel like a draggy 45 minutes. It was just like slogging through the jungle. Like, I think a lot of Predator kind of feels that way to me. Like Predator in a lot of places feels claustrophobic because it's just like the same green everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked this movie and breaking it up.
Does anyone besides me wish that the Wolfman being there hadn't been justified?
Oh, that he bought him from a freak show?
Yeah. Like literally she rides up. Like I think I was looking at something on my phone for a second, then I look up and it just does that weird that smash cut. Yeah. And I was like, oh, there's a Wolfman in this movie? And does that music sting, and I was just like, all right. I was already on board with this. Now we're just getting real weird with it.
Yeah. I was in a similar situation where I looked away for half a second, and then Sarah just says, "What the fuck?" And I look up, and it's that. And yeah, it's like, I don't know if they were like, hey, we've got these lenses and some of this makeup. Let's put this in the movie, guys, just somewhere. Let's just insert this. And I loved how well he's dressed. He's got a very clean vest on.
Yeah, it is he is very well put together. And he's not even the hairiest Wolfman kind of creature. He just seems like, I don't even know, because it's obviously not supposed to be a Wolfman, just some kind of a savage man. But how does that happen? He's obviously a mutant.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted, in addition to the look of the Wolfman, I really liked a lot of the practical effects in this, especially for the kill scenes.
Yes.
The part later when Thatcher gets killed and just explodes.
He gets obliterated.
Yeah, I rewatched that 3 times in a row just because it was so fun just watching that effect.
It's like that moment in Scanners, or it's like that moment in Deadly Friend where it's just oh, you did that. It's so cartoonish and extreme and so great. It does that a few times, although that's the best iteration. But I mean, we have this great, there's at one point, so Griffin overtakes Red at one point, and kind of, we don't know what happens to Red. I thought he just killed Red and took his weapons. He apparently strung up Red by his feet, and then Ritter...
You're oh, this seems tame. Why did he do that?
And Ritter and the secretary stumble across him later, so Ritter's chastising him as he's cutting him down, holding him against his chest. And then as soon as his foot is out of the loop, it releases this giant spiked log that just impales Red right up against Ritter, which was so unexpected and cool.
Yeah. And in the mix when he dies, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a fart sound.
I did not.
Oh, I should have pulled the sound.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, like Sarah's like, was that a fart? Like rewind it. And we did. And sure enough, like the last sound he makes as he dies.
Oh, that's so good.
Classic.
What other big extremes do we have? We have
But when the Wolfman, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say when he gets killed by the bulldozer blade,
stabbed in the eye and then cut in half.
Yeah, which I do not understand how Tito was like, I can't stop this. I'm gonna accidentally
It was
kill
an
you.
Austin Powers moment. It was like, stop. Like that kind of thing where it's just like, this was completely avoidable. Why did you do this? And like I thought it was just gonna be bloody, and then it just cuts and there's his legs and some guts, and they have been cut off. And then quick thinking, he whips out his Tito whips out his missile launcher to try to catch Paul before he gets away, but of course Paul gets away. Then there's also later on the beach, there's this great fight scene. This whole sequence on the beach I thought was great. The fight scene between Paul and Ritter.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite part of the movie was this scene.
Yeah. And then actually my favorite part is the assault at the end. That just got so crazy. But
that's really good too, yeah.
But she chops off Ritter's hands with a machete. Chris chops the hands off, and it's like, it's really sad because he doesn't scream. Does he scream?
I think he yells like once, but then like he's just like
whimpering.
Yeah,
he's like in shock more than anything.
And he just like dies, presumably from bleeding out in shock that this happened. And it's just like,
and his fingers are still moving.
Yeah, the twitchy fingers.
Oh my god.
Which I read. I'm sure you saw this trivia bit too, Alex. That Olivia Hussey almost really chopped off the actor's hands when they yelled cut.
Wow.
They yelled cut, and she took it literally and swung, and he like moved his hands out at the last second. And I find that super suspect of this woman who is, a careered actress.
Yeah.
Be like, what do you mean by cut? Cut his hands?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems a little bit ephemeral. I don't know if that was reality, but apparently, I'm sure you read too, she was very unhappy during the making of this movie, apparently.
I saw that.
She was scared of the Australian outback, which is
correct. For good reason. There's a part where they're, swimming through some canal that could have had anything in it. You don't know.
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, oh, bold of you to get in that water.
Yeah, I was waiting the whole time. I was like, is this the movie where we finally get a crocodile?
But we did get another snake. The snake isn't weaponized, but there is a snake that comes out of the eye socket of one of the corpses in the crevasse. Okay. And now I'm just actually legitimately wondering if every movie that we're going to watch for this will feature a snake, because I think we're 4 for 4. No?
Ooh, yeah, I think so.
I think
had a snake in Most Dangerous Game, the original, right? There was a snake in there.
I'm sure there was.
It sounds right.
Yeah, like in the jungle, like it was probably just like a shot of one hanging on a branch or something,
right?
Similar
Like very
to this.
rubber. And then so continuing the snake theme, that was great. Oh right, this Ritter versus Paul fight scene. Do you remember how Ritter opens up this scene in dialogue? Do you remember what he says to Paul?
Oh, he's screaming at him. What's he say? He kept saying like, "Come here!" Like,
well, yeah, he kept saying that. But one of the taunts he threw at him pretty early on was, "I'm gonna fuck your ass, boy."
Yes.
Which is like, okay, declarations have been made.
Yeah. Just like Roadhouse.
Just like Roadhouse. What else? Oh, the secretary. So this was pretty brutal. He's just trying to find Chris to hit her with the paralyzer gun and have his way with her. Like he's not trying to murder her. And he's hanging out with Ritter. So they get to this cornfield that she's in, and Ritter's like, I'll take care of this. You stay on this side, I'll flush her out. He proceeds to go to the other side of the cornfield and light the damn thing on fire, which seems like an incredibly bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So this is practical.
I mean, that's how you would drive out a predator, though.
Could that not start a forest fire?
It absolutely could. It's an extreme method. It's not usually it's not the first thing you do, but it is in hunting a predator. Like if you've exhausted all other options of pursuit, like flushing them out like that, that is an alternative that is used sometimes.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Fair. Okay. So the great thing that happens here is Paul swoops in to save the day. In his scuffle with the secretary, Chris gets a hold of the paralyzer gun, shoots him in the dick.
Yep.
Perfect.
Just like RoboCop.
Just like RoboCop. Precedes RoboCop by 5 years.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Verhoeven had seen this film. I don't know if he, I think it's very obvious to shoot the rapist in the dick in a movie like RoboCop. I'm not saying it's a lift, but I do think that, maybe Verhoeven saw this movie.
I'm saying 2 movies have got it right, and almost every other movie continues to get it wrong.
Yeah.
So,
and so now he is paralyzed and burns to death in the field, which is just so great. And then later we see his charred corpse being hauled into the corpse van or the corpse wienermobile, and and it's like this black charred fat husk where all the hair is burned off. It's actually like a pretty gross looking burn body.
Yeah.
So good. Oh, and Jennifer finally catches up to Rita.
Rita, yes.
And maybe rapes her?
Yeah, that's like very overly like sexually aggressive as well.
It's very heavily implied that that's what happens.
And definitely the arrows were involved, the tearing kinds of arrows. Yeah, she had 3 kinds: the tearing, the explosions, and the shock.
Yes, which is also interesting because there's when they're going over like the rules earlier about promiscuity and sex and stuff, like they mentioned that homosexuality is a capital crime.
Right, like that was something I thought was interesting that they chose to paint that into the world, as we had this this like camp announcement reminding everybody of the sexual rules, which were like, you can screw, but if you have a baby, it's gonna be aborted and you're both gonna be sterilized, and no homo or you will be killed.
Yep. I mean, obviously the guy sucks, but oh boy, we sure got some amazing movies out of Ronald Reagan existing, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, man. Friggin' reality. So then, so Pointy tries, Tito. I kept calling him Pointy because I didn't learn his name was Tito until after the movie, I think.
Pointy Tito.
Tracks down Paul and Chris and winds up with a machete in his skull, which is exactly what we wanted out of that machete at that point in the movie. Ange thought that was going to happen to Ritter, but then he just bled out with his hands. So I was glad to see. I mean, we were both glad to see that the machete in the skull was still in the cards for the film.
They also they lingered on that shot of the machete in his head for like longer than I'm used to seeing in any kind of movie like this.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the stuff that I'd seen, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of brutal, but like it feels tame, by today's standards. But then like it finally gets to that shot with the machete, and I was like, it's been on him for like 4 seconds now. Like this is all right. I get what people are talking about now.
And then Paul and Chris take over the murder tractor and storm the camp.
Shows her really quickly, this is how you use this gun. All right, you ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
And while they're doing the raid, it just seems like that gun is going in every direction, but like the people that are being shot.
Yes.
Yeah. It also is like, maybe have the girl that's like having PTSD about cutting a dude's hands off, maybe have her drive. Maybe you take duty on the gun.
Probably would have been for the best, but it was effective in the classic cheesy B movie way of spray and pray always works.
Yeah. It also like, I've never seen somebody shoot a gun like that and look like they were trying to get away from that gun at the same time. Like the way she flails around while the gun is swinging is like, it looks like she was surprised by what it was going to do when she pulled the trigger.
Probably was, yeah. She probably was. And
then they crash through the fence.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's quite a stunt they pulled there.
Yeah, they just crash right over a fence and into one of the like bunk shacks.
Yeah.
It was great. He encourages all the people to take up arms, which they do. The camp is completely overrun. All out war breaks out, and they call in a red alert.
Yes.
Which is planes that take off to enforce Order 77, which is a total wipeout. Which they kept saying that, and it didn't really ultimately turn out to be as wipeouty as I would have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like,
you think
hey,
it would be just this island's gone.
Right.
Yeah, burn a few trees.
So like there's not a great way to describe this whole battle in detail. It's just like a really fun like war sequence at the end of this movie.
It's also interesting that Order 77 is a total wipeout when it's like, oh, did George watch this movie? Is that what Order 66 came from?
What would 11 less be? Kill the Jedi. Got it. I also like this last scene. It basically played out like the final scene of Commando, except it was an army and not just Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I've never seen Commando, so that's a gap in my Schwarzenegger.
Nobody
knowledge.
hunts anyone for sport, but it is a great time.
Okay, noted.
And it also co-stars David Patrick Kelly. So
instant
very young
qualification.
Alyssa Milano as his daughter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, also yes, and Dan Hedaya as a Cuban.
Yeah.
Oh, very good, very good.
And Vernon Wells from The Road Warrior. I'm done now.
That's right.
That's great. One funny thing about this, I guess it's not funny. It's like ironic is Chris has been instructed to go and destroy the communications center as the planes are asking to be given the command to stand down.
Yep.
And she shoots all the communications. So the planes are definitely going to come in and bomb. And then she gets assaulted by Rita, and Rita winds up with Jennifer winds up with one of her electricity arrows in her skull in one of this movie's other great deaths.
Yep.
So it was like a very good skull frying moment.
Yes.
And right after this is when Thatcher gets absolutely obliterated. And then when the planes get there, it's kind of gotten to this point where the only people left in the camp are the bad guys, and just the camp gets bombed. Just bomb the camp. Chris and Paul survive. I couldn't tell if any other inmates survived. It seemed like they did, but we didn't see any of them.
No, yeah, it's hard to say.
Movie just ended on a shot of Railsback and Hussey.
Yeah, and an H.G. Wells quote for some reason.
And an H.G. Wells quote, which I immediately it was like in one ear and out the other. I forget what it was.
Something like "Misfits will lead the rebellion." Something in that vein.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, that's weird." H.G. Wells knew about Glenn Danzig. Cool.
H.G. Wells is the secret author of Where Eagles Dare.
He ain't no goddamn son of a bitch.
So yeah, I mean, this movie is just very sharp. It is a fairly loose adaptation of Most Dangerous Game. Like it's really more of a lot of it is implied, actually. A lot of it is kind of like you kind of assume things that are present from like knowledge of the story going into it, like just a kind of generalized pop culture knowledge of that thing. Because it really doesn't the movie. It doesn't really hold your hand through dialogue and explain here's the rich people coming to hunt the things. I mean, like you pick it up, but it's never like clearly delineated. Ah, yes, these people are coming in now specifically to start their hunts.
Yes.
It's all kind of played around. Like the first time we see Jennifer, we just see her. We cut to her and we don't know who she is or what she's doing or why she's playing with this gun. In Tito's
dressed like she's going on a fox hunt.
Yes.
But it's a turkey hunt.
It's a turkey hunt.
They kept referring to them as turkeys.
Yeah. And this is the turkey shoot.
Well, there you go.
The film title.
I like to watch it. I'm excited to continue doing this because it's interesting seeing how different cultures and how different eras like integrate the basic DNA of Most Dangerous Game into something else. Because like, for all intents and purposes, something like this, Running Man, Battle Royale, Hunger Games, those are all kind of the same movie.
Yeah.
But they're all definitely different enough, and there's stuff that like doesn't quite meet the like. Personally, I think that like most of the Purge movies are like a hop, skip, and a jump away from Most Dangerous Game influence.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
So it's just cool kind of seeing how this base concept can be just used and taken in all these different directions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was so gung-ho to do this series, because I wanted to explore this kind of stuff. Because like if you put Battle Royale next to Most Dangerous Game, you can see some common threads, but like Battle Royale in its plot and its mechanics is drastically different than Most Dangerous Game. But if you put Turkey Shoot in between those two movies, that line becomes much more clear. I'm very into that. I'm very into discovering these connections. And like, oh man, I don't know if we want to stay in the 80s and do Running Man, but like now I'm kind of getting hyped up on watching Running Man again because I love it so much.
Yeah, I will say visually as well, there are like some parallels in this movie where the Paul and Chris are running like through the woods and through the weeds, and they're holding hands and being chased. And I mean, visually it matches up perfectly with like Joel McCrea and Fay Wray, like running from the hounds.
It does, yeah.
It looked like that.
Or Schwarzenegger and Maria Conchita Alonso.
Yeah, it's true.
That was actually the prison stuff or the camp stuff through most of it reminded me of the beginning of Running Man, where they escaped from the prison camp. Like it had a very similar kind of vibe to it. The police state seemed very similar to a couple steps down, but like eventually that's where it would end up if allowed to continue unchecked.
Yeah. It does seem like, whatever the state is in this movie, the policy leans towards when in doubt, kill everything.
Yep.
Which is,
don't take your chances. Just
one way to go about it.
Just get rid of it all.
Also, just out of curiosity, like, how familiar are you guys with other like major, like essential Australian cinema at the time? Because for me, I think it's literally Baz Luhrmann, the Mad Max movies, Wake and Fright, and this for me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it would be this. It'd be like, the George Miller movies, some Peter Weir stuff, like Gallipoli, but I mean, other than that.
Yeah, I mean, me largely same as you, Dustin. Oh boy. Trying to see if we're back on the. I don't know if we're broadcasting right now. Yes. Hello. I think we're on the air again.
Hello. According to Facebook, we are back. So
okay. That was fun.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
I don't remember what I was saying.
You're talking about your experience and exposure to Australian cinema.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. See, I was just going to re-implore human beings to watch The Howling 3: The Marsupials, directed by Philip E. Mora. I asked you if either of you guys had seen that movie.
No, I've only seen the first Howling.
Okay.
Same.
Howling 2, also good. Howling 3, more insane.
Is that My Sister is a Werewolf, Howling 2?
I think that is correct. Internet, tell us the truth. Yes, Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Good memory.
The one that Christopher Lee allegedly apologized for. To Joe Dante.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, like, 3 has no bearing on anything. It doesn't even. It could just be called The Marsupials. It shouldn't even be a Howling movie.
There's an old Peter Weir movie from the 70s I want to watch. It's The Cars That Ate Paris. The small town of Paris, Australia, deliberately causes car accidents, then sells salvages of all valuables from the wrecks as a means of economy.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, And the poster for it, you're like, oh, that, I feel like I've seen that before. And that's because one of the the iconic car from the Cars That Ate Paris was like recreated and used in Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, nice.
Okay. After we wrap up this Most Dangerous series, I'm probably going to go on a little bit of an exploitation kick because I'm now realizing how woefully underexposed I am to the whole thing. And one of Razorback is another one that I've been really wanting to watch.
Yeah, that's been on my list for a minute. It's been in my Shutter queue for forever.
And another one that the guy who directed this film, the guy who directed Turkey Shoot, Brian Trenchard Smith, also directed BMX Bandits, 1976, which stars Dennis Hopper.
Oh,
that's Mad Dog Morgan. I misspoke. Mad Dog Morgan stars Dennis Hopper. But there's a trio of teenage BMX bike enthusiasts, 1983. One of them is Nicole Kidman.
That's awesome. Oh man, there's God, it's Sam Neill and I think Nicole Kidman and maybe Billy Zane, where it's like a couple on a boat. God,
that's
it's like Dead
Calm.
Water. Dead Calm, that's what it is.
Noises, yeah, Dead Calm.
Ooh.
1989.
Gotta watch that movie. Ooh, 1989. Good vintage. Very confused time. Very good.
That one's on my list. Breaker Morant is supposed to be very good and also a pretty important Australian film as well.
So we have, this is good too. We've uncovered additional cinematic homework we all have to do for ourselves.
Oh, a more modern one. I completely forgot about it. I have seen The Proposition, which is an Australian Western with Guy Pearce. Yeah, that one's solid.
Written by Nick Cave.
Yes.
Screenplay by Nick Cave. Gladiator 2's Nick Cave.
Yeah.
I believe, let's see. Nope. Jane Campion's from New Zealand, not Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also, I think it was Australian, Undead from 2003, this Australian zombie movie.
Nice.
That was kind of, on that precipice of the zombie resurgence, a little bit ahead of it. I remember that being pretty good.
Australian connection while I'm thinking about. One of the things I remember reading is Alf, the actor who played the Wolfman character.
Oh, I assumed it was a Wolfman.
was a wrestler and is also in all 3 Crocodile Dundee movies.
Yeah.
As I think a character named Donk.
Yes,
Donk?
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Waking Fright's not bad. It's worth checking out. I got to see that at Gateway several years ago.
Nice. So
it's got Donald Pleasance very briefly.
And I don't think this movie is an Australian movie, but Philip B. Moore, Australian director, also who directed Werewolf or Howling 2 and 3, also directed Communion with Christopher Walken, which I don't know if either of you guys have ever seen.
Is that the one based on the Whitley Strieber story?
That is correct. Whitley Strieber was an author who believes very sincerely that he had a series of encounters with aliens and wrote this book about it called Communion, which I read a couple years ago and is it's interesting and creepy and unsettling for like a whole myriad of reasons. The reality of the assuming that could possibly be reality is terrifying. Assuming that a man's brain could do this to him, also terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
All these things. It's a very interesting read, but he believes every word of it. And Philip B. Moore made this insane movie with Christopher Walken starring as Whitley Strieber. It's very intense. Strong recommend. So yeah, I don't know if I have any other thoughts on Turkey Shoot. I enjoyed watching this movie a lot. It opened some questions that I have about other Australian movies and parts of cinema history that I want to learn more about. There's an exploitation documentary too from a handful of years back that I've been meaning to watch for a long time.
Yes. I remember the other thing I had now that wrapping up. I obviously haven't seen a whole lot of Australian movies, but Brian May seems to be the only composer that lives in Australia.
I'm pretty sure that is true. Brian May also composed Mad Max and Road Warrior.
And
what else?
Until a year ago, I didn't know that it was a different Brian May than the one from Queen. Because for years I just assumed I was like, how many musicians can there be in the world named Brian May?
I absolutely assumed that it was that Brian May when this movie started.
Yep, I finally was reading it because I rewatched the first 3 Mad Maxes sometime last year, and I remember seeing it, I was like, oh yeah, Brian May, and I incorrectly have told people before, I was like, yeah, Brian May from Queen did the score, and then I was looking at like literally the first thing on the, like when you search for it on Wikipedia is like, for the Queen guitarist, go to this Brian May. It's like, oh, okay, so they are different guys. All right.
Yeah. Also, on didn't talk about an alternate title because on Amazon Prime, if you try to watch this movie via like the IMDb for free with ads, it's called Escape 2000, not Turkey Shoe.
Really? Escape 2000? I thought Escape 2000 was a different movie.
No, it's this movie because I at first started to watch that. Before I realized like, oh, I should watch the Plex version because this one's really crappy looking.
Yeah,
like the one.
Yeah, that's why I did that for us.
Yeah, and no, it was terrible, but it was the same opening title, the same font, but it was with it showed like
but it said Escape 2000. That's interesting because it's also the name. It's also an alternate title for a 1983 Italian movie called Escape from the Bronx. That was featured on MST3K under the title Escape 2000.
That's weird.
So there are 2 movies that have the alternate title Escape 2000.
Yeah, you understand why? Because like,
that's very confusing.
Takes place in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Which I forgot I made that, and I was like, oh, I need to play this.
That was great. I'm glad you had that on hand.
The show goes by and it gets wasted.
Perfect drop.
So do we have a idea what we wanted to cover next week, guys?
I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
One of them is not on the list at all.
Oh.
And I just was reading an article and it was brought to my attention. I'm like, oh yeah, that movie. And it's William Friedkin's The Hunted.
Oh, is that the Tommy Lee Jones and Del Toro?
Yes.
I am unfamiliar. 2003, 95.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 2003.
I didn't realize Friedkin did that.
Yeah. Which I've seen.
Interesting.
But it's been, nearly 20 years since I've seen it. So
I've never seen it. I'm totally down for this.
Yeah, you want to do this next?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's see if it is streaming anywhere. And this isn't we're not sponsored. It would be nice if we were, but we're not sponsored by anybody. But anytime I need to figure out like where something is streaming, I go to justwatch.com and search the thing, and it tells me what services have it available and under what conditions, and it's extremely helpful.
Yeah. Just send justwatch.com an email and say, hey, give us the most dangerous podcast code, and then also give those boys something for all their hard work.
Yeah. Also, we've also got watch in our
we do. Yeah. There's a synergy to be had.
Yeah. Come on.
It seems like it is available with a subscription to DirecTV, Showtime, AMC, or Fubo, but available to buy or rent on all the major platforms: Amazon, Google Play, etc., etc. So yeah, not too hard to watch The Hunted, and that's what we'll be covering next week when we come back to chat about this. Shot by Caleb Deschanel. Interesting.
Oh,
cool.
The third Deschanel sister.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Sounds great.
We'll be planning on that. And in the meantime, Dustin, where can people find more of you?
DustinMeadowsComedy.com, at Dustin Meadows on Instagram and Twitter. Check out my podcast, New Metal Who Dis, on all your podcatchers, wherever you get your podcast. And also, if you happen to be or live in Anchorage, Alaska, I will be there April 6th through the 10th for the Alaska Before You Die Fest. So,
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah, very excited for that. So if you're in Anchorage, come hang out.
That's very exciting. Is that going to be part of the, or is it going to be during the 30 days of night that they have?
I think that's further north.
Okay.
In Alaska. I have a day off while I'm there, so I'm either going to hunt or be hunted for sport. So.
Great.
Oh, fun.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah. Just make a documentary about that, and then we can cover it on the podcast.
Yeah. Failing that, I will hunt a bear with Anthony Hopkins.
Perfect.
Something like that.
Great.
So.
And Alex, how about yourself?
Let's see. What do I want to plug? This show. Listen to this show on Who Watches Podcast. Listen to Misfits albums about angry robots at misfits.bandcamp.com. Buy the records. Do I have any other outlets? No. I'm at Alex Brunel on social media, but social media is a garbage fire. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do any of it.
Trev, what about you? But if you do,
find us. I'm at Travis Fishburne. We are at Who Watches Pod on Twitter. You can reach us at whowatchespodcast@gmail.com. And please subscribe, leave reviews, do all the things, buy our merch that does not exist.
Oh, we should do merch. No.
That would be fun. The
Yes.
most dangerous t-shirt.
Most dangerous t-shirt.
And so until next time, stay alive and survive.
And